Good evening and welcome to Newsnight. In the next 60 minutes, Ghana Police Service orders its commanders not to allow members of the ECG task force to enter any of its facilities as part of the company's revenue collection and disconnection exercise.
The bypass is done in such a way that during the day when you get there, everything is fine. It's great. But at night, your meter is
when they crank up the machines and actually
get
work.
the bigger ones to work. Your meter
where the real consumption is done.
Exactly.
We'll get to hear from the ECG boss on this particular police issue, as well as his notice to members of the Association of Ghana Industries. Also tonight, the Public Interest Accountability Committee cites the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation, GNPC, for various financial infractions, including refusal to return proceeds from the Jubilee Oil Holding Limited into the Petroleum Holding Fund in its latest report for the 2022 financial year.
GNPC continues to fund the construction of roads. GNPC continues to use lifting proceeds of JOHL for other expenditures.
Also tonight, the Ghana Journalists Association and allied institutions call for the repeal of the offence of publication of false news, which they say is being weaponized by the government and police to clamp down on free speech.
Many of the world's intolerant and autocratic governments typically deal with decent and press offences by exploiting the law. Hence, our call for a repeal of these two laws.
We have details as GJA and the Media Foundation for West Africa and partners slam President Akufo-Addo's government for seeking to introduce the criminal libel law through the back door.
We find it ironic that a government presided by Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, who is much vaunted as a human rights and press freedom champion, is supervising the surreptitious reintroduction of criminal libel.
And in business, crude oil production declines for 3 consecutive years by 10%. We'll hear from the 2022 annual report by the Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, as Ghana earned in excess of $1.42 billion from the production of crude oil last year.
And in sports, Juventus have 15-point deduction for illicit transfer dealings revoked, boosting the club's chances of playing in the Champions League next season.
And later in the bulletin, we'll tell you how jollof rice is struggling for a place on the dining table as it becomes increasingly expensive to prepare the meal. Details of the Jollof Index report shortly. That and more in this edition of News Now. You want to join us with your thoughts and comments? It's via WhatsApp on 055-1111-997. You're listening live on Facebook or myjoyonline.com or Twitter Spaces. You can leave your comments there with the hashtag Newsnight. I am Emefa Apau.
My name is Evans Mensah. We start tonight with the ECG revenue wars, and let's talk about the police, because we all know as in the heat of the disconnection exercises and the revenue collection initiative, one of the places that the ECG found issue with was a police barracks. Tonight we've cited a police internal memo ordering commanders not to allow members of the ECG task force to enter any of its facilities as part of the company's revenue collection and disconnection exercise.
Well, so this follows an earlier disconnection of the police barracks in Osu here in Accra for illegal connection to the grid. Well, the police has adopted a different approach to dealing with this particular situation. We've seen that copy of that internal memo, and it goes on, it's signed by Mr. David Eklu, and it goes on to say that this is copied for your information and action, and that it directs all regional commanders that they should not allow any ECG officials into police facilities within their jurisdictions, and that a template letter of invitation to formally invite ECG officials to undertake inspections, review of connections, rectification of irregularities, and installation of bulk meters follows. And then it also goes on to ask divisional and district unit commanders that they should ensure strict compliance and report any such case to regional command immediately for redress, and that this should be treated as urgent.
So that's the internal memo from the police there. Yesterday, the managing director of the ECG was on PM Express, Samuel Dubik Mahama, and has been speaking about the disconnections they've done. The issue with the police barracks came up, and he admitted part of the challenge was ECG's own creation.
Then when will it stop? So that means you'll be saving for that day?
And the police barracks?
The police barracks, there is a conversation that's to be had. You know, we are partly to be blamed for the police barracks. I must admit. With Ghana Armed Forces, we've streamlined the thing very well. They have a bulk meter. So I think it's about time and how the police barracks were set up. So I don't want to blame the police so much. More so, I want it to be a shared responsibility. We're going to have a complete conversation with the Ghana Police Service to find a way to bulk meter them so we can charge them properly. Because of how the barracks were set up, it has led to this situation, which is quite unfortunate. And these things happen so you can streamline. So in as much as I would want to blame them, I cannot blame them because I also have I have a role to play in this.
Yeah.
So we need to close that gap as quickly as possible so that we can move forward. So if it's a bulk meter, like the case of the KGTR market thing too, they have a bulk meter. A bulk meter is always far away from the setup. So to us, whatever we fed into the barracks is what we fed into the barracks, and that's our bill.
Yeah.
Whatever you do within the barracks is your problem, but that's what we fed into it. Ghana Armed Forces realized that wasn't fair, so they were like, okay, the market areas have private people coming in to do business, so let's prepay all the market stalls in the Burma camp, which we did. So we found a way to do a set-off before we give them their bill, so that anybody doing business with the power doesn't get it for free, because that was what was happening and they had to pay. So that thing has been cleared. So I think it's about time we also had a similar conversation.
So the police administration is not going to get the stealing charge.
That's what I'm saying is that I'm going to say honestly, this was something that we should have looked at years ago and fixed this problem. So I cannot drop the problem solely at the doorstep of the Ghana Police Service.
So that's a problem. This is to deal with the commercial losses problem that you've been facing. And the minister gave an update on this last year when he spoke on it and pulled the figure at 1.5 billion.
Yeah.
Is this still 1.5 billion?
I think the losses...
This is a commercial one. We'll come to the technical one, but the commercial one.
The commercial one should actually be around 1.5. But it should have grown by now because the tariffs have gone up. So if tariffs have gone up by 50%, maybe if you slap another 50%.
And that largely is down to all these illegal connections. So that's huge.
That's very big.
Is that part of the 5.7 billion?
No, it's not part of it.
This is uncollected revenue. This is uncollected revenue. So that's of course, it's also part of it because you have to not collect as part of the commercial.
Yeah, it's a collection loss.
Okay. So that is what you want to reduce. What's the target to reduce the 1.5 billion?
The immediate thing that we did was to digitalize end to end.
Okay.
So after digitalizing end to end, we actually could see what the problem was, and that's why we are targeting it.
It is also emerging tonight that industries in Ghana have now been found out to be one of the largest breaches of the law when it comes to the issue of illegal connections, creatively stealing power. The ECG has a report now detailing how to deal with that. The ECG boss indicates that they will be going after the members of Ghanaian industry in the next phase of the operation, following what they have discovered to be the industry's own creative way of cutting through the assigned meters and managing to use power without accounting for it, and leading to the production of bills that are not accurate. He says they will be dealing with this as part of the next phase.
Through this exercise, we would be able to identify customers that are no longer in business, customers that have left, who are folded up years ago but are still on our accounts, because proper cleanup exercise wasn't done on our system for a very long time. But this is what is up. If I tell you that we still have Wahoo on our books, would you believe me? It was one of the steel companies that folded up a long time ago. So,
and they're so
they are still on our books with their existing bills there. Meanwhile, the company has folded up. So it's about time, and this is what this exercise is going to afford us. So we will see all of these things and then clear all of them and then have proper books, and then the numbers.
Talking about commercial losses, what about major industries and commercial entities bypassing your meters creatively beyond what we saw, say, at Hillbury, on a large scale that you may not know? Because people
you know why I'm laughing, right?
Tell me.
It's because of what you saw me reading.
Of course, you have a document that I'm very interested in.
So you see, the truth of the matter is, I'm not stopping at the fact that I'm seeing the revenue, or ECG is seeing the revenue.
So in other words, the fact that you are paying your bill
doesn't mean that you are paying the accurate bill. we are coming up with a strategy to be able to quantify these things and measure them properly. Because it has come to our notice that certain bypasses and some stealings are done at night. The bypass is done in such a way that during the day when you get there, everything is fine. It's great. But at night, your meter is
when they crank up the machines and actually
get
work.
the bigger ones to work. Your meter
where the real consumption is done.
Exactly. Your meter is just
bypassed.
It's just dead.
So they bypass you when they actually are consuming, and then when the consumption goes down, and then they activate your meter.
Exactly. So
that's very creative.
See, the thing is, so right now those customers, we know everybody. So we are now actually going to dedicate a system for them. We want to make sure that where they even pick the load from is metered, and then actually we go drill down to make sure that there are certain mechanisms and certain things put in place to make sure that there are no hidden cables and there are no hidden bypasses so that we can actually retrieve the right exact amount of money. Because sometimes you'd actually look at how much power they've consumed. If you juxtapose it to their taxes, it doesn't even make sense because they made a lot of money. You understand? So clearly the stealing is not even done right. He's saying he didn't use enough power.
But
he's paying a lot of taxes because his profits are
a reflection of how much you've produced.
Exactly. So that's also another conversation.
If you don't have power, how are you producing this much?
Exactly. So this is the conversation where we have to even sit down with Yoko to see economic and organized crime, to see how best they can assist us when we do these computations, because that is the highest level of dishonesty that you could ever see. Because you're actually using it. These are your taxes. These are your profits that you've declared. Yet look at the amount of power you're claiming you used. It's not commensurate. Unless you can prove that you have a different source of power, which is also a different conversation. But from now, these are all the little things.
Let me ask you, is this hypothetical or you found real evidence of the industry doing that?
We found.
Okay.
We found.
So that is what informing this strategy going forward.
Exactly.
So you're going after industry.
Yeah. Look, no, I'm not limiting it to industry. We are going after all customers who are in the habit of stealing.
Let me ask you about the industry bit that you're going to begin. You must have a conversation with the Ghana Association of Industries.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You intend to?
We intend to.
Have you told them about this, what you've discovered, that some of their members are doing this?
So you see,
have you informed them?
We are having a conversation now.
Okay.
You've asked me, I'm being honest with you. So maybe some of them are hearing it here for the first time. I'm sorry. We will come back. When we are ready, we'll have a sit down with them, show them what we are seeing, why we are embarking on the exercise, and why we need their support. I think one of the beautiful things is that whenever you're embarking on a certain exercise and you speak to people about it, the understanding of your situation and their welcoming of it, just as how we did before we started the exercise. So that's something that we will do before we target the whole situation and then drill down on it and make sure that we do the right thing.
I remember when I spoke to you first, you had this phrase that electricity has no political colors. There's been this slight controversy about...
And that's the chief executive, the managing director of the ECG. Thankfully, guess who's joining us right now is the chief executive of the Association of Ghana Industries, Chuma Kwabwa, on the back of what we just had there. Mr. Chuma Kwabwa, thank you for your time here on Newsnight.
Thank you, Evans.
So the MD of ECG says they are coming for industry because they found that many of your members are engaged in creative power theft. Guilty as charged?
Well, I don't think this is something we should generalize. We are not aware of it. And let me also put on record that AGI as an association, we don't condone wrongdoing. We will not accept anybody who is stealing power, who is taking power illegally and not paying the right tariffs, because it has effect on all the rest. If you don't pay the right tariffs, if you don't discuss with ECG and you are stealing power, so what it means is that you are becoming competitive more than others, and that's unfair competition you are creating. Secondly, when you do so, you deny ECG of the right revenue to be able to provide quality service to industries. And when the service is poor, it affects industrial operations. So we don't condone those kind of situations. But having said that, until we have evidence of what he's saying, I'm not saying that I'm doubting it, but we need to have a proof to it and look at the scenario and the situation, then we all analyze it together. I'm happy he mentioned that he'll be consulting us. We'll be very happy to engage him and see where the challenges are and deal with it. If companies, in every market segment, in the various categories of consumers, we have the residential users, we have the industries, we have the government institutions. Every segment, you probably will have one or two people who are doing the wrong thing. And it cannot be generalized and say industries are doing this. I don't think so. There are a lot of industries doing the right thing, paying the right tariffs, very compliant with all the issues around. So I don't think it's something we should generalize. And it's not peculiar to industry. So we need to look at the specific cases and deal with it as we go along.
And if some of your members are caught in this, and this is based on, it says, work that they've done that have proving that some of the industries, you look at their turnover, you look at the taxes they're paying, and you compare to, he's comparing it to the bills they're paying, and he says that there's clear gap there. That suggests something very fishy is happening. And they've probed this further to establish that industries are operating during the day. When you go there to read the meter is actually giving you a reading. But then in the evening, they bypass the meter, and that's where they crank up the machines. Does that sound to you as something that is plausible within your industry?
Well, it's difficult to comprehend this because if industries are doing the right thing, they're operating in the right standards, I don't see why this should happen. And I don't see why it should take this long for ECG to be able to detect. So if they are not detecting, that is all well and good. It means they are becoming more efficient. But I think if they are very efficient, it shouldn't take that long to detect it. But the fact of comparing your turnover to your electricity payment, I think that you must always look at how industries strategize to survive. Some probably will use generators. I remember in the 2015s when we had serious challenges with power, and later on we tried to restore it. It got to a point where it was even cheaper to use a generator set than to use the grid because the grid had become so expensive. Until later on we negotiated and all that. So you don't know the other forms of energy companies are using, and therefore you cannot just look at their turnover and conclude that they are not paying enough power. I think the best thing is what they are trying to do now. Check the system. Indeed, go on the ground and be sure that there's no theft of power. If you do so and there's evidence to that, then we deal with it. But you just cannot look at the numbers and on the basis of that conclude that they are selling power. So we will support them if they are identifying, recalcitrant people, wrongdoers. We will support them. We want ECG to survive. We want ECG to do well so that they can provide the quality of service. We always complain about the fact that the power loss is so much, and those losses is passed on to the consumers in the form of higher tariffs. So if we're able to take out all the losses, it will rather bring power tariffs down for everybody. So we support every effort to be efficient as ECG and reduce the power cost for everybody. So that's what I would say. But I don't think it would be fair to conclude that industries are doing this. I don't think it would be fair because there are a lot of industries doing the right thing. One or two recalcitrant ones who may have gone wrong, let the law deal with them. That's it.
Talking about tariffs, how is industry coping with the recent increases that we saw?
No, it's been tough. We have serious challenges in the system. Tariff levels, not only at the electricity level, but also in water. It's quite tough because within a period of 6 months, we've had over 60% increment in tariffs. Much as we agree that the parameters for determining the electricity levels have changed, the cost of fuel had gone up, the exchange rate and all that, so that it impacts on the power tariffs. Industries have difficulty passing on the entire cost of production to consumers. So it is really a tough, difficult situation, especially because competition is also so keen. So they are struggling, and when it comes to water, it's even worse. By the adjustment, especially of the beverage industries who were put in a special category, their tariffs level were increased by about 300% until we did some advocacy and got down to about 172. It's still very high. Some have accumulated huge debt as a result of it. So it's a very difficult situation. We are still discussing and negotiating with PURC to see how tariffs can come down a bit in subsequent automatic adjustment reviews. But it's a difficult situation. Cost of production is going up, and industries are being compelled to downsize in order to survive. So we have a very serious situation on hand.
And very quickly, is this struggle you talk about a reason why some members of the association or industry generally may choose then to bypass the meters because it's a struggle?
Oh, I wouldn't say so. I mean, if you want to survive, you don't do illegal things to survive, because that could be worse if you are caught. If you are caught in the act, you worsen your situation. So I don't think any serious level-headed industry player would do that. Rather, what they would do is that if they don't have the resources to pay, they negotiate and say, can we stagger the payment? Can we spread it over a period? We've done so in the case of the water tariffs. The debt that was accumulated over the last 5-6 months, we have negotiated with the Ghana Water, and it's been spread over a longer period for payment. So that's what they would do. But they won't go and sell power because they have a difficulty. At worst, what companies will do is to downsize, or if at worst they close down instead of doing illegalities. No serious business would like to do it. I cannot vouch for everybody because it's a human system. So sometimes there are a few challenges here and there, but we cannot generalize it. And I wouldn't in any way say majority. Absolutely no. A lot of the companies do the right thing. So let's look at the ones doing the wrong thing and deal with it.
Setu Makwaba, thank you very much. He's the CEO of the Ghana Chamber of Industries.
Announcement from PM Express as well. Mr. Dubik Mahama announced that there are plans to meter all distribution transformers and install bulk meters for some state institutions to address the issue of power theft and illegal connections.
Because right now we are actually going to meter every single distribution transformer in the residential areas.
So you're metering the transformer?
Yes. The transformer that
not the home.
Feed. No, that's for the homes you already metered.
But what's the purpose of that?
Because it's going to be energy accounting and audit. What the transformer tells me I have fed into it compared to your meter in your home should be equal.
But that's bulk. He's telling you the bulk for the entire community.
So it's not the entire community. What you're talking about is boundary metering. I am talking about DT metering, distribution transformer metering. For every DT, for every distribution transformer, there's a number of homes on it.
Okay. What's the maximum
depending
number
on
of
the load, you cannot have a flat number. It's depending on the load on it.
So it's finite. You know, in this community, this transformer is serving 10 homes.
Exactly, or 20 homes.
And it says I've distributed what?
Five. Let's say 1 megawatt.
1 megawatt. And yet, when you go to the homes and you put the combined total, it's what? It's less.
It's less.
It's less. Okay.
Or it's over. Or you would find the discrepancy.
They have to now reconcile.
Yes.
So what is accounting for the gap?
So what's accounting for the gap? Now you have to visit every single home. But the meter that is not reading right, you will see immediately. Okay. The meter that has been tampered with, you will see immediately. Or the home that is not doing the right thing will be seen immediately. So you do not have to disturb honest customers, but you can actually drill down on the person who's stealing the power.
Okay, so would this be part of that, you've given a 1-month ultimatum here, when you begin that exercise, would they be part of the?
So the DT metering is the whole conversation has been done. Those meters are being procured to be installed.
Okay.
We are going to do our best to get that done before the end of the year. Yeah, we are doing our best to get it done before the end of the year.
So that's the ECG. Now, coming into your neighborhood and metering your transformer. You're still live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM.
Now, tonight, the Public Interest Accountability Committee, PIAC, is unhappy with separate operations of the Ghana National Petroleum Corporation as it cites various financial infractions against the company in its latest report from the 2022 financial year. Well, among those infractions are GNPC's continuous use of proceeds from its subsidiary, Jubilee Oil Holding Limited, without depositing it in the Petroleum Holding Fund. Also, the committee's audit showed that GNPC continued to fund the construction of roads in the Western Corridor Enclave. Well, the committee in its 2021 report flagged these operations, but the company has refused to rectify them. We'll listen to the committee chairman, Professor Kwame Adum Frimpong, who expressed worry over the trend.
In 2022, GMPC received an amount of 38,835,537.56 as gas commodity revenue from the cash waterfall mechanism, which constitutes a petroleum revenue. Once the petroleum revenue, first of all, it should go to a petroleum holding fund, but this amount was not paid into the petroleum holding fund. GMPC continues to fund the construction of roads in the Western Corridor enclave. This constitutes quasi-fiscal expenditure and should be the primary responsibility of the central government and not the National Oil Company. GMPC is using Jubilee Oil Holding Limited, GOHL, to carry out operations not approved by GMPC's work plan for 2022. And you are aware all the work plans are approved by management. Two notable examples are Esproco Cash Call on Springfield, total lifting proceeds by GOHL, that is a subsidiary of GMPC for 2022, amounted to 272,652,208.95. Despite caused by PIAC, that revenues of GOHL constitute petroleum revenue and should be paid into the petroleum holding fund, GMPC disagrees and continues to use lifting proceeds of GOHL for other expenditures.
Well, PIAC wants GMPC to return the monies to the Petroleum Holding Fund.
Then you have the crude oil received by GOHL to be paid into the Petroleum Holding Fund since it's formed part of the petroleum revenue. That's Ghana Petroleum Revenue. That's what we are insisting. Once it's coming from, that is exploration, the lifting, then it should go first to the PHF at Bank of Ghana.
Now, Mefa, over the last few years, one of the major concerns for players in the industry is the dwindling fortunes when it comes to our oil production. PIAC is also equally concerned about that. The committee noted that revenue from the country's 2022 petroleum production and sale recorded an all-time high, although production has actually reduced. And this is obviously because of the increased prices we saw on the back of the Ukraine-Russian conflict.
On the volume of 71,439,585 barrels was produced in 2019, but declined to 66,926,806 barrels in 2020, and that representing 6.32%. It further declined to 55,050,391 barrels in 2021, a decline of 17.75%, and then to 51,756,481 in the year under review, 2022, 5.98. So averagely, when we take the average decline over the 3 years, there has been 10% decrease. Total petroleum revenue in 2022 is the highest for a single year since inception of petroleum production in Ghana, with a figure of 1.43 billion. Remember, when we got there, it was 743, so it doubled to, that is for 2021, and now 2022 is 1.43 billion. So even though the quantities in terms of barrels, they are going down, the revenue aspect in value terms are going up. And this is the highest so far since inception or the time we started the exploration.
PIAC has some recommendations for government.
You are saying there's a need for Ghana to speed up the sustainable development of its petroleum resources to reverse the decline in petroleum production through the attraction of new investors as well as early completion of ongoing projects. Number two, GRA needs to intensify its efforts in the collection of surface rental arrears, particularly the amount owed by the 4 contractors whose petroleum agreements were terminated in 2021. In the disbursement of funds to the DACF, that District Assembly Common Fund, the Minister of Finance should comply with the decision of the Supreme Court, that is the 5% of ABFA, in line with Podo and another versus Attorney General in 2019.
You're still listening to News Night. We'll go for business. When we return, well, the Ghana Journalists Association and allied institutions are calling for the repeal of the offense of publication of false news, which they say is being weaponized by the government and police to clamp down on free speech. And then much later, I will tell you how jollof rice is struggling for a place on the dining table as it becomes increasingly expensive to prepare the meal. Details of the Jollof Index report shortly. And Beverly is here with the latest from the world of business. Hello, Bev.
Hi, MFR. Now, coming up in business, we've learnt our lessons, Finance Minister says, as he expresses government's commitment to protecting the public purse due to the current predicament. Also, for 2 consecutive years, Finance Ministry fails to transfer 5% of the annual budget funding amount to the District Assembly Common Fund. We'll hear from a report. Business News on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business, Kingdom Books and Stationery, and Alliance Life. We have details after this break. My name is Beverly Broom. We settle for details now. And Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta has expressed government's commitment to protecting the public purse through expenditure controls and the payment of right taxes due to the current predicament facing the country. According to him, the country must spend what it earns and not the vice versa. He was speaking to my colleague George Riafe in an exclusive interview yet to be aired on PM Express Business Edition later tonight.
We are confident that we are doing the right thing, we are on the right path. And the challenge really, George, is that yes, we will get our board approval, hopefully in short order. But what do we, as a nation, learn from that? How do we ensure expenditure controls, commitments to that, raise our revenue, and ensure that we spend what we earn? I mean, I think those are going to be the issues that the country has to contend with. Understanding how to protect the public purse and ensuring that we all pay our taxes and we all don't waste government resources.
PM Express Business Edition airs later tonight at 9 p.m. on the Joy News channel. To make a date. Now, for 2 consecutive years, the Finance Ministry has not been able to meet the requirement to transfer 5% of the annual budget funding amount to the District Assembly Common Fund. That's according to the 2022 Public Interest and Accountability Committee's annual report. Now, this is contrary to the decision of the Supreme Court in 2019. PIAC therefore wants Ken Ofori-Atta to comply with the decision of the Supreme Court in the disbursement of funds to the District Assembly Common Fund. Now, Societe Generale is committed to investing 5 million cedis towards the expansion of operations of women in small and medium enterprises. According to its managing director, Hakeem Uzani, his outfit is poised to promote increased access to finance for women-owned businesses across the country. Speaking to Joy Business at the SG Women Business Seminar, he said the move would drive growth across all sectors.
We at SG Ghana, we are working hard to promote women, not only internally within our bank, but only with our customers. So we are doing this event as a capacity building information and also to be in contact with women entrepreneurs, to hear from, to understand their businesses, to understand their stories, to understand their challenges. And because we are working towards the SG Women products in the bank to support women entrepreneurs. But to support them, we need to understand their business. We need to understand their challenge. We need to build something which makes sense for them and for us.
Hakeem Uzani is the managing director for SG Bank Ghana. Now, telecommunications giant MTN Ghana has donated cash and some assorted items to the national chief imam, His Eminence Sheikh Usman Nuhu Shaributu, as Muslim communities prepare to mark this year's Eid al-Fitr celebration. The action is intended to support the chief imam in carrying out his social and spiritual duties during the holy month of Ramadan. Mohammed Abubakar is general manager for regional sales at MTN Ghana.
Our donations across the country also goes to affirm our appreciation to your support, patronage, and loyalty to MTN. We would like to use this opportunity to urge our customers who need to register their SIM cards and who have not done so. Now the NIA has released that they've released a lot of cards across. So if you receive yours, do well to go and register your SIM card.
General Manager for MTN Regional Sales at MTN Ghana, ending the Joy Business News on Newsnight. The news is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery and Alliance Life.
Thank you very much, Beverly, for this, the latest from the world of business. Well, Evan said on the ECG, there are some messages, and this one is asking, when will ECG go after media organizations? I want to know. And then this one, exactly. And this one from Citizen Sika Togo from East Legon says it's quite disingenuous and bizarre that the government is toying with this. Okay, well, this is a very long one that we can go through. A number of the messages, well, I'll sort them out shortly so we go through it. But before then, since you're talking about media, maybe we should talk about the Ghana Journalists Association. And tonight, the association and its partners are demanding the immediate repeal of the offence of publication of false news in Section 74 of the Electronic Communications Act. According to President of the GJA, Albert Jumfor, the government and police have weaponized these two laws to abuse press freedom and right to free speech.
In the face of the increasing use of this law to target critical journalists under President Akufo-Addo's regime, we may well ask the question, what has changed? What has changed? And once again, what has changed? We recognize that the media and journalists can sometimes be reckless and unprofessional to the extent of publishing false and defamatory stories. Fortunately, the laws of the country provide aggrieved entities with remedies for civil actions against citizens, journalists, and media organizations. It is regrettable, therefore, that repressive actions of the Electronic Communications Act and the Criminal and Other Offences Act 1960 Act 29 are being weaponized to muzzle free speech under the Akufo-Addo regime. It may be argued that the arrests and persecutions are being in accordance with the law. It is equally true that the victims of the erstwhile criminal libel law were also dealt with in line with the law. Indeed, many of the world's intolerant and autocratic governments typically deal with decent and press offenses by exploiting the law. Hence, our call for a repeal of these two laws.
Kweku Asante, my colleague, was there for us at this press conference, joins us now on the telephone line. Kweku, what's the trigger for this call?
So, Noah Bame, a journalist with Radio Adan, was arrested a few weeks ago upon a complaint by someone to the effect that he had made a post on Facebook indicting or alleging that the entrepreneur, McDan, was involved in some criminal activity of a sort. Someone did complain to the police. He was arrested, he was put before court, and then eventually he was remanded in custody. The GGA and the Media Foundation for West Africa says that is unacceptable.
And what's the suggestion that there is an attempt to reintroduce the criminal libel law?
Indeed, we know that during President Akufo-Addo's time as Attorney General, he led efforts to repeal the then criminal libel law from Ghana statutes. They say that since President Akufo-Addo came into office, there's been a specific pattern of the police arresting persons and charging them with the offense of publication of false news, as well as using the Electronic Communications Act, the Section 74, which deals with publishing of false materials, among others, to harass journalists and also to stifle free speech. It is their contention that this government is seeking to introduce the criminal libel law through the back door.
We find it ironic that a government presided by Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, who is much vaunted as a human rights and press freedom champion, is supervising the surreptitious reintroduction of criminal libel through the use of the above-mentioned criminal act or criminal laws, through the use of the above-mentioned criminal laws. Indeed, the repression of press freedom of expression using the law on false publication likely to cause fear and panic undercuts the publicly expressed view of President Akufo-Addo. Speaking on the topic, outlawing criminal libel acts.
And Kweku, they also share concern that if this, if not dealt with, we're going to have our reputation on the international scene sullied even more.
About the last few years, Ghana's positioning on various international press freedom rankings have dropped significantly. They are concerned that the new rankings that will be coming in the next few months will not also improve Ghana's rating because of some of these incidents.
Now drop from 30th position in 2021 to 60th in 2022, the worst ranking in 20 years. We are also much aware that the recent detention of Noadame has been picked by the Reporters Without Borders, and that may consequently affect our ranking in the coming days before the World Press Freedom, the International Day, is observed. The violations that have been recorded in Ghana over the past year give cause for pessimism regarding the country's performance in the next ranking. It is obvious that our press freedom environment is deteriorating, and that the abuse of the two controversial laws has contributed massively to the deterioration.
There have been earlier concerns expressed by the GJA about the refusal of the police service to give information to journalists. We'll hear from Albert Jumfo on this, but first, here's a report by Joy News editor Fifi Kumsing on the matter.
The media has a big responsibility to, among others, educate and inform. But the new police media blackout in the regions and districts of the country, following the assumption of office of IGP George Akufu Dampare, threatens this mandate.
This has a very serious potential on giving room for speculations and misinformation.
Whenever a story breaks anywhere in the country, the police in those jurisdictions would direct journalists to the Central Police Communication Center here in Accra for comment. And on many occasions, when the journalists do, they get no answers. Almost every one of these newsmen and women has a story about how this decision by the police is affecting their work in the relay of information to Ghanaians.
Recently, there was a criminal case in one of our neighboring towns, Okrasi, and my outfit tried to authenticate and get facts and some clarification from our regional police command. Sadly enough, we were told to contact the national headquarters.
But how can one central communication center handle requests from 16 regions and 216 districts, municipalities, and metropolitan assemblies? Why would the police shut its commanders in the regions up, the people who have first-hand information, and rather rely on communication officers who only have secondary data?
Well, the GJA president is demanding that this change immediately.
As a state institution, you can't keep information to your chest. Like we are all condemning the NCA for not being transparent with ownership, we still entreat the police to do better. Even though it's a security agency, they should know that they are working with the public, they work for the state, and they are responsible to the public. And I will use your platform. I have said this. We indicated it in our earlier statement that, look, the police should change their style, because especially when it comes to the regions and the community, information flow is not going down. You cannot, if you think that the information is not needed, why issue a one leave statement? If you think information flow is not good and you think that there's no need, you don't owe the media any information, why is it that whenever you start a case, you issue a statement? Is the statement meant for the police or meant for the public? So the same public is asking that you change your style and start confronting your responsibility by letting the public know what the work you are doing, investigations you are doing on some national matters of national interest and all that. I believe that this is a right call.
Albert Jumfo is the GJA president.
Time for sports now, and Musbao is here with the very latest. Hello, Razan.
Yes, hello, MFR. Well, Champions League, of course, is over, and we know Real Madrid, Manchester City, AC Milan, and Inter Milan are through to the semi-finals, and waiting for those games in the Europa League. Manchester United are in action tonight against Sevilla. They'll be hoping to make it to the semi-finals after a 2-2 draw at Old at Old Trafford there. But it's Juventus who are in the news at the moment because they've had 15-point penalty, which was handed to them over transfer dealings, illicit transfer dealings, reversed. Now, Italy's highest sporting court says that the case should be re-examined after Juventus were accused of fixing balance sheets by artificial gains from transfers. The lifting of the point deduction means Juventus move up from 7th to 3rd in the Serie A table. Rather than Juve being cleared, the case will now return to Italian Football Federation Appeals Court, the body which gave the initial punishment. And as a result of the decision, with 8 games to go in the season, AC Milan are knocked out of the Champions League places, while Roma dropped to 4th. And we also understand that the former Juve sporting director, who was one of the 11 directors of the club, either former or still in place at the time of the ruling, were sanctioned. And so Ivan, this is a very interesting, incident happening in Italy. Juve suffered 15-point deduction because of some illicit transfer dealings that they were accused of having been engaged in between 2019 to 2021. And the football governing body gave them that deduction, but they appealed the decision. And today in court, the judge said that that 15-point deduction should be set aside so that the matter can be re-looked at. So now Juve, who were lying 7th, are now lying 3rd on the Serie A table. What it means is that AC Milan are now out of the Champions League places. AS Roma, who were 3rd, are now 4th, and is now getting ever interesting in Serie A as to who qualifies to the Champions League.
That is interesting, and Juve is in the Europa League.
Yes,
possibly we might play them.
They're playing Sporting Lisbon.
So definitely boosting your sale. We'll see how this pans out.
Yeah, interesting. And just before I go, GFA have come up with a very interesting initiative called the GFA Foundation, and they say they want to use that very charity wing of the association to contribute to national development. And the first activity they've done is to give former under-20 Black Starlets coach Celestete 50,000 Ghana cedis, and they say they want to do more and help the country benefits from the impact of sports in the country.
Thank you very much, and we're looking forward to the game later tonight and how Juventus manages to turn this around after a season of turmoil. You're still listening to News Night on Joy 99.7 FM, and you can share your thoughts with us here on News Night on Joy 99.7 FM. Now, the fate of Collins Nyama remains uncertain, as the board of the Ghana Water Company has yet to make a decision. The board was scheduled to meet earlier today to decide on his nomination after President Akufo-Addo appointed him Deputy Managing Director. But the meeting at the head office failed to come off when a united senior and junior staff of the company set out in protest to fiercely reject his nomination. Apart from describing him as disqualified, they also say the company's financial challenges doesn't make it prudent to hire him. My colleague, Mamisi Nyamisa Thompson, has more in this report.
The anger of workers accumulated since the announcement of Collins Nyama's nomination for the Deputy Managing Director position was poured out in protest this morning at the head office of Ghana Water Company. It started with a giant banner at the entrance with the inscription, "An unqualified Deputy Managing Director, Finance and Administration," an insult to the workforce of the Ghana Water Company Limited. Armed with placards with various inscriptions, the message was clear that the workers simply did not want Collins Nyama to set foot in the company.
We believe it's a position that should be filled with people with both the technical and institutional knowledge of our operations. We also believe that the technical people would also help the managing director, who is a political appointment, to do his work appropriately. We also want to state that the profile of the purported nominee indicates that he lacks the requisite professional qualification to be a deputy managing director, FNA.
They cited various reasons for their rejection, including that he wasn't qualified for the position and that it wasn't financially prudent for the company to hire from outside when there were many qualified personnel within. First National Trustee of the Public Utilities Workers Union, Samuel Amu-Kakaba, in a petition urged the board members to reject him.
By this, we want to encourage growth and succession planning in our institutions. So we want to entreat and encourage the appointing authority to also consider that. With this, we want to state that the appointing authority should reconsider the decision of the nominee.
The Ghana Water Company Limited Board has deliberated on the nominee, but it is unclear what the fate of Collins Nyama is.
And this is live here on Newsnight. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. And I want to return to that explosive story from that leaked document that we've cited over the last few days, authored by the former Environment Minister, Professor Frimpong Boateng. He had details of this on Top Story on the day when the Deputy Minister for Lands and Natural Resources broke silence on this matter and gave us details as far as the ministry's own reaction to it is concerned. That document is now being reviewed by the ministry. In that particular document, Professor Frimpong Boateng named a host of government officials that he accuses of active involvement in illegal mining or galamsey. He also accused some MPs who were also neck deep in the act. One of the MPs in question is Joseph Albert Kwam. He is the former MP for Manson Kwanta, and he has been accused in this document as one of those individuals who use his position on the Minerals Commission's board to also exploit what was already happening. And I want to quote to you what that particular part of the document says. It says it is on record that activities of some senior members of the MPP accounted for the anger at the community levels. The Honorable Joseph Albert Kwam, the Member of Parliament for Manso Nkwanta, former Member of Parliament, amplifies such individuals. That this is a Member of Parliament in Ashanti region, at the same time member of the Board of Minerals Commission. He used his position as a member of the Minerals Commission to acquire several dozens of large-scale concessions in his district, ostensibly for community mining purposes. He ended up selling these concessions to private individuals, including party members, for 200,000 cedis per concession. This infuriated the party in the constituency. So during the 2020 primaries to select a candidate, the electorate voted against Honorable Kwam. Thankfully, he had called and said he would speak to it. His name was not mentioned by us, but I'm pretty sure that he has seen the document and he wants to respond. Mr. Kwam, thanks for your time here on Newsnight.
Good evening, my brother.
Great to have you. So
let me use this opportunity to greet your cherished listeners.
I'm assuming that you've read the document and for which reason you wanted to clear the air on this. What's your reaction to that paragraph that refers to you?
My brother, let me first and foremost ask you this question. Has Professor Frimpong Boateng accepted that this document is from his end?
Yes, he has.
Okay. Go ahead.
And the ministry, just by the way, has also confirmed tonight that this is something they are reviewing, but they want the security guys to deal with it. So what's your reaction to the part that refers to you? True that you use your position, bought lands and sold it out for 200,000 cedis to party folks?
My brother, how can this be possible? He claimed that I have acquired 12 dozens. 12 doesn't mean 12. 12 large-scale concessions in my district. How possible? I do not even have a single concession. I don't even have a concession in my name. My brother, if he claims that I have dozens of concessions, that means 12, 24, 144. He must come out with a document that bears my name, a concession document that bears my name. Why is it going this way?
Do you have any concessions at all that you have sold on to others?
I don't have one. I don't. You can go to the Minerals Commission to check. You're a media general, right? You can just do your own investigation for Minerals Commission.
Do you have?
To find out if indeed I have a concession.
Do you have any proxy owning a concession on your behalf?
No, I don't.
Did you sell any concessions to
My
party
brother, the
folks?
question is, once I don't have one, what powers can I have to sell a concession to anyone?
Did you sell somebody's concession using your
Not
position?
at all.
So you say that this report that from Boateng compiled, as far as it has to do with you, is a fabrication?
It's a fabrication. At this crucial moment, I will challenge him to come with documents bearing my name, concession documents bearing my name. If he's not able to prove that, then I will consider the document to be bogus.
What do you plan to do about this? Frimpong Boateng is a member of your own government,
My
a
brother,
party colleague as well.
I'll let my lawyers write to him to retract and apologize. If he doesn't do it, I will advise myself.
Thank you very much, sir. That is Joseph Albert Kwam. He is a former MP for Manso in Kwanta. And that's it for News Night tonight. At least now we're getting some clarity from many of those who have been mentioned in this particular report.
And just before we go, I'm sure we've been talking about jollof all night and how expensive it's become. You have a copy. My colleague Kofi J has a copy of that jollof index report and joins us briefly. What is it saying?
Well, so to prepare jollof rice for an average of family size of 5, you need about 280 cedis as of March 2022, and this as a result of high food prices. And mothers who were sampled said the dish was so expensive that they now, prepare the dish only on special occasions.
Okay, there's more on that on myjoyonline.com. I don't know the last time you ate jollof, Evans. Do you remember?
Over the weekend?
Oh, okay. How much did it cost?
Was free.
And that's how we wrap up the News Night for this week. We have Personality Profile coming up next. Dr. Kwame Ajiman Boache Dankwa for